So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to let Dave pull up his stuff and we're going to learn some local history.
All right, very good, Kelly. Thank you very much, and we thank the library for cooperating and co-hosting with us this program. We really appreciate it very much. On behalf of Amy Demchek, our president and the board of directors, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Springford Area Historical Society for your past support. And those of you who are members, we thank you for that. I'll have a little scan code at the end of the presentation that you'll be able to scan that if you're not currently a member. And we're grateful for that level of support. We really are. So as Kelly said, we're going to have some fun with April Fools tonight. And I've prepared 12 different stories, 12 different scenarios, statements, and you'll have an opportunity to react to them through the polling feature. And you're going to be able to vote either truth or fiction. So I am going to try to fool you. I don't know how far I'll get, but we'll see just how savvy you are about Royersford and Spring City history. The first one is a practice round, and it has nothing to do with Spring City or Royersford, but it is something that I found absolutely fascinating. So let me
Are you ready?
reset my PowerPoint, and I'm going to share my screen. All right. Here we go. All right. The first picture that you're going to see is a picture of film star actress Hedy Lamarr. Now, those of you who are younger will not know who Hedy Lamarr is at all. You have absolutely no idea who Hedy Lamarr is. But she was a movie star in many films in the 1930s and 1940s. Her most successful film was in 1950. It was the highest revenue film of 1950. She starred as Delilah in, you guessed it, Samson and Delilah. Well, our statement for tonight that you're going to react to is, and if you can call that up, Kelly, film star Hedy Lamarr holds a US patent for technological concepts that are still in use today in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi applications. So you have about 15 seconds or so. If you can lock in your answer, click on the screen with your cursor and your mouse.
We're just over halfway there.
All right.
All right, 5 more seconds.
Anybody else that wants to vote? Now's the time.
We got 80% reaction. That's pretty good.
Okay, excellent. That's great.
Oh,
So let's see. Oh, we have 81% feel that it's the truth, that is the truth. It's probably so improbable and unbelievable that a film star would have that kind of technological awareness or scientific awareness that you thought that that would be true. It is true. So 81% of you got that correct. Hedy Lamarr actually had an idea. She realized that that the Germans were able to easily decode and jam the wireless transmission signals for the torpedoes that were being launched during World War II. So she had the idea to do it wirelessly and with a rotating signal so that they could not track that signal. So I have a couple of other slides here to share with you. There is her schematic for the design of the wireless transmission. And as I said, those same concepts are being used for Bluetooth and wireless today. Here's an edition of Stars and Stripes, which talks about her contribution to the war effort. And then I think I have one more that is her patent. And you can see up in this area, Hedy Kaiser Markey, which is her actual name. Hedy Lamarr was her stage name. All right, are we ready to get into this? All right, let's see how we're doing. We're going to get into Royersford and Spring City history now. And let's see how you do. The Buckwalter Stove Company began in 1866. We have many models of the Buckwalter stoves in our collection. And our statement that I would like you to react to, and Kelly, you can call that up now, is that
There we go.
the Buckwalter Stove Company produced stoves in Royersford and shipped them to Japan for sale. Is that truth or fiction? It's fun to watch these votes come in. It's really neck and neck.
All right, we'll do
Oh,
another
we're seeing a spreadsheet now. Yes. Okay. All right. Well,
last call.
that about everybody?
It's pretty close.
36. All right. We have just a couple more.
There we go.
All right. There you go. We have 56 to 44%. And that, let's see, it comes out to be, you're thinking that it's truth. Well, it is the truth. And if you're a follower of our Facebook page, you'll know that Bill Bruner posted that not just too long ago. And, you know, it was something that he had on our Facebook page. I did not know that. I had never heard that before. They thought that that was going to be a very lucrative thing. So here's one of the stoves that we have in our collection. And this is, shows some of the officers, their logo. And this is, you'll remember the smokestack that stood for many years over in that area of town down by the river. That came down just a few years ago. And this is one of the Buckwalter Stove Company's buildings that still stands today. Lewis Environmental is housed in that building down along the river. All right, very good. So you're, what was that, 56 to 44? I'm going to keep track here. 56% got that correct. And so far you're beating me on that number one. So, all right, I've got to get more difficult here. Let's move on to number two. I'm going to talk about some of the films that used Royersford as a backdrop. Of course, you're The Blob. Some of you will remember about The Blob. The Blob was filmed in 1958, and it used, well, here, of course, it used the Phoenixville Colonial Theater. There's a picture from the film with the blob in front of the screen. But it also used Jerry's Market over in Royersford, which is used to be Sly Fox, and now it's, I don't know what it is right now, actually, over there near Parktown Beverage. It also was Donzi's Market. You can see those same windows were at the front of Donzi's Market. The Humane's fire engine also appears in the film. That fire engine is currently owned by one of our honorary board members, Lee Warner, someone who's a Royersford person. And then you also may know about The Lovely Bones, excuse me, that was shot partially in Royersford, most of it on Main Street in Royersford. We have a couple of pictures. This is the corner of 3rd and Main from some of the footage of the film where the Willie's garage is there. And this is a Main Street scene. They put up the old Christmas lights for the movie as it was set back in the 70s. You remember many of the storefronts were reconfigured to look like the 70s. And here's another view down where the cafe is. I don't think any of those scenes made it into the movie, but they certainly redid everything, and they did shoot some scenes there. Certainly not everything that gets shot gets put into the movie. So question number two. Kelly, if you can put that one up. In addition to The Blob and The Lovely Bones was in 2009, Royersford was used as a location in another feature film. Truth or fiction?
This one's more of a landslide.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting to a lot of participants here. Another 5 seconds. Last call.
All right.
Okay.
So we had what, 63% said that that is true. It is true. Absolutely true. The film was called The Visit. And The Visit, look at the tagline for The Visit. What Jaws did for sharks, what Psycho did for showers, The Visit will do for grandparents. So grandparents everywhere thank M. Night Shyamalan for producing that film. I've never seen it. Bill Bruner, our president emeritus, has seen it, and he's watched it once, he said, and it is a bit of a thriller. You have Grandma's Rules here on another movie poster. Have a great time, eat as much as you want. Don't ever leave your room after 9:30 p.m. And you can see the bloody fingerprints on the sampler there. So you get an idea what that movie is about. Bit of a horror film. They took the 8th grade center and converted that into Masonville High School. And this is a scene from the movie. You can see one of the characters, one of the kids who played in the movie with the 8th grade center, the former Royersford High School behind him, and the sign that was changed over. Here's the film crew there on Washington Street. And we also have the Masonville Borough Police Administration building and the Make It Special catering office there on our main street. So there you go. So that was correct. So you, as a group, you've got me so far. You're winning. Okay. All right, we're ready for the next one. Lakeview Amusement Park. I'm going to have one about amusement park. You probably know what this question is going to be because there is a story that has gone around for years and years and years that someone was killed at Lakeview Park, was killed on either the Wild Mouse or the Zyklon roller coaster. Here's some of the rides from Lakeview. This is the Twister. There's another one here, which is like the Tilt-A-Whirl. Here is the Zyklon coaster, the infamous Zyklon coaster. And this is not the Wild Mouse from Lakeview, but I could not find a picture of the Wild Mouse from Lakeview. I did write down the dates, but it was in use until 1965 or something like that, I think. So our question number 3 is, no one ever died at Lakeview Park. In other words, that story, that rumor is completely false. No one ever died at Lakeview Park. Truth or fiction?
They're
All
pretty
right, we have
close in
about
their answers this time.
30 votes in so far. This is neck and neck too. Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, last call.
Anybody else?
Okay.
All right. Well, to answer the question, I'm going to call up a newspaper article. And this says the park is sued. This is an article from 1976. Lakeview Park sued for $40,000. Phoenixville man, 7-year-old son was injured on a ride, and all it says is the roller coaster. So I assume it was the Zyklon roller coaster and not the Wild Mouse. Now, today, $40,000 wouldn't be a whole lot of money, would it? But that was the suit that was being brought. They're saying that the boy got tangled into a wire that was left hanging down on the tracks. And as a result of the injury, the youth suffered severe and permanent shock to the nervous system. So the answer to our trivia question here, our truth or fiction question so far is no one was killed on the roller coaster. All right, we next move to another article. And that is, this is from 1951, boy collapses in water, heart attack, Blaine. So my truth or fiction statement was, no one ever died at Lakeview Park. That is false. All right, so what was our result?
It was 50, just moved it. Let's see if it tells me so. 54 to 46. 54 said true.
So 46 got it correct. Or no, 56 got it correct. Right. Because it is, no, it's a false statement. So it is fiction. Now I'm getting confused.
The park didn't kill them.
Oh my. Anyway, somebody did die at Lakeview Park. That's the bottom line. And it was this 15-year-old. They believe that he had a heart attack. So this is there was no water in his lungs. So he didn't die of drowning, but they believe he had a heart attack when he jumped into the very cold spring-fed lake at Lakeview Park. And so this is a Pottstown Mercury article from 1951. Here's an Interborough Press article. It was a few days later because the Interborough Press didn't publish every day on August 9th. Same content. And if that's a little small to see the print, I did blow it up just a little bit. He was accompanied by his parents, plunged into the water shortly after noon. Apparently was stricken. Charles Vitabel from Norristown, who was one of the lifeguards. And I think that the name of that family was involved with Lakeview Park for a number of years too, the Tably family. Oh yeah, it says brother of the owner of the park, raced into the water after him. Gave him artificial respiration. Friendship Community Ambulance was called. And there was a physician who was summoned also, Joseph G. Ross. That's not a familiar name to me, from Spring City. He believed the boy suffered from a heart attack. Again, as I said, that there was no water in his lungs. He collapsed in about 3 feet of water. So stranger things have happened. All right, we're ready for the next one. And this one has to do with the Royersford Spring Company. The Royersford Spring Company was founded on July 20th, 1899. It is still in operation. So it is therefore one of the oldest businesses still in operation in Royersford. I could never understand why the Spring Company wasn't located in Spring City. Wouldn't that have been better? I mean, think about that. They could have put that right on their stationery that they were from Spring City. All right, I have another picture of the Spring Company. This is from the Spring City side. You can see it's an older picture. Look at the bridge, the iron bridge going across the Schuylkill. And this is a picture of a 1928 Bugatti Roadster. And here is our truth or fiction statement. The Royersford Spring Company manufactured springs for the Bugatti Sports Coupe. What do you think about that? You can lock in your votes now. All right, we have about 38 people. Another couple seconds.
Okay.
All right. And it looks like you got me on this one too, because that is true. That is a true statement. Believe it or not, the Royersford Spring Company, and that's a French company, I believe. The Bugatti company is from France. They manufactured springs not only for Bugatti, but also for the Lincoln Town Car. This would have been in the 1920s. Lincoln Town Car and the Pierce Arrow as well as a number of different vehicles. All right, our next question also has to do with the Spring Company. It is connected to the Spring Company. And this occurred in 1966. A Royersford Spring Company employee was tired of getting her dog tangled when chaining him outside. And so, she worked at the Spring Company. She had an idea. With the help of other employees, she designed a self-retracting reel that was used as a dog lead. So in other words, this was spring fed and spring powered. The dog would pull it out, and then as the dog got closer back to that reel again, it would retract the cable back into. Now, the interesting thing is that this design then was developed into the first retractable dog leash. So that is our statement for number 5. A Royersford woman holds the patent for the first design of a retractable dog leash. Neck and neck on this one. 80% of the vote in.
It is. Last couple seconds here.
Anybody else? All right, there we go. And let's see, 51% say that that's true, 49% say that it is false. It is false. I have to admit, I just made that one up. And Kelly, you know why I thought of that?
Huh.
We have a new puppy at home, right?
Oh, of course.
So that's why I thought of that one. All right. We got you on one. I think you're ahead of me so far, 4-1. All right, we're ready for number 6. This is a picture of the Philco facility at 501 North Main Street, or excuse me, South Main Street in Spring City. This facility was seriously, majorly upgraded in 1956 and became Philco's premier transistor production center for the entire United States. So that's our statement for number 6. The Philco plant in Spring City was the country's most advanced mass production facility for transistors. Is that truth or fiction? All right, lock in your votes. We got a pretty fast response on this one, and a higher number of people are voting. So it looks like there's a pretty decided answer on this one. 83% say that that is true. And in fact, it is true. We have this advertisement from Philco. You can see the map of the United States, Transistor Center, USA. And you see that red transistor there with the lines coming out from it? Look at that. Look where it's located. Right over top of Spring City, Pennsylvania. How about that? And this is what the company had to say about their new Transistor Center, USA. For the first time, the dream of the electronics industry comes true, made possible by many years of Philco pioneering, research, and production of semiconductors. Philco's great new transistor plant at Spring City, PA is designed for and dedicated to the mass production of reliable advanced transistor manufacturing equipment and utilizing entirely new production methods. It is now in mass production in Spring City. We call it Philco Transistor Center USA, and that's exactly what it is. From this plant comes the world's finest transistors, unmatched in quality and reliability. So if you had a transistor radio, especially one made by Philco, chances are those transistors were made right in Spring City, as well as many other manufacturers use Philco transistors. They contributed to the computer industry in addition to radios and phonographs, and there were many firsts using Philco transistors. Even more importantly, Philco transistors were used in satellites, in the Mercury space program, the Gemini space program, the Apollo space program, and also the shuttle programs and Skylab. And many of those transistors were used in control consoles that were a part of those space programs. So we can be very proud about that. I have some other shots here taken in the Transistor Center USA. This is some, this was a piece of equipment that attached leads or the metal wires to the transistors. And this is a Spring City transistor plant testing facility. We would test for 7 parameters there, it says, of power transistors. And this, of course, is what it looks like today. At one point, it was called the Spring City Space Center. It was storage. And when I used to work at the hardware store in Spring City, whenever they would come in and say they worked for the Spring City Space Center, I always would ask them, are you having any launches today? Of course, it was just for storage space. And that joke was about funny, maybe the first time that they heard it. And after that, it got pretty old. All right, we're ready for the next one. This is number 7. And we had hoped to have my document camera working. And also, full disclosure, I'm a little under the weather, so I am not at the museum tonight. So I did not want to sit in the cold museum. We're not really heating it right now because we're not open on a regular basis. So I am in my family room. But I did bring something that just was donated to the Historical Society, and that is a ledger book from the Spring City Hotel. And I'm going to stop my screen share just for a sec here so I can get a bigger screen. And I'll hold this up and you can see, hopefully you can see, it has Spring City Hotel. And this is the guest register from 1914 to about 1918. So we're pretty excited to have that in our collection. And we're even more excited as we have been going through it to discover something. And that is this. Let me share my screen. Again, this gentleman is one of the governors of Pennsylvania, Governor Martin Grove Brumbaugh. And he was originally from Huntington, Pennsylvania, but had a lot of connections in this area. And in April of 1917, stayed at the Spring City Hotel. So that's our next statement that you can react to with either truth or fiction. Governor Martin Grove Brumbaugh stayed at the Spring City Hotel.
That man has the coolest eyebrows.
He has some serious eyebrows. He reminds me of Sam Irwin. Do you remember Sam Irwin from the, was that the Nixon impeachment?
Oh. All right, we got quite a reaction here.
Quite a reaction. We have a 90% say that that is true. And I'm very sorry to say that I made that up, especially to 90% of you. I made it up. I'm sorry. Oh, I finally got you on something, decidedly on that one. All right, I've got to learn to be more convincing then. I guess I was hopefully pretty convincing on that one. All right, so Martin Grove Brumbaugh did not stay at the Spring City Hotel, unfortunately. If he did, this is how he would have been welcomed, though, as you can see. Look at all the red, white, and blue banners on the hotel there. Our next truth or fiction question also has to do, and I have there, I shuffled my notes. Let me get them back again. Also has to do with the Spring City Hotel. The hotel had many different types of entertainment over the years, but one of the most amazing was that it was a popular spot for female impersonator performances with numerous performances over the years. So Kelly, that's our next statement. The Spring City Hotel was a popular venue for drag queen performances.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's reversing.
It was started out one way and now it's reversed. That's right. Like I said, it's really fun for both of us to watch these votes coming in. We don't have you able to see that because we don't want you influenced by the voting. All right, there we go. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that that's true, and 40% say that that's false. 40% say that 60% say that it is fiction. 40% true. Well, let me just show you some pictures here. Here is an advertisement, and this was just recently donated along with the guest register. The gay interlude with the country's most accomplished female impersonators. So it is true, folks. It is. And we have some pictures of some of those female impersonators. This is the great Mario. I take a look at those. I think he looks a little rough to be to be a female impersonator. Oh,
A new
and
caliber of
this
drag.
is a new one. This was a new one also that we didn't have currently in our archives. Here's another one. This is Una Hale. See his kiss of fire. I don't even know. I don't even want to know what that is. I don't think. Spring City Hotel, 2 shows nightly. We have another one here, Mr. Bobby Clark. Dynamic double voice. Can only imagine what that is, the double voice sensation. Jayette. Jayette is atomic, the blonde bombshell of rhythm. And we have Mr. Chris Scarlett, exciting in his fantasy of the fans.
That's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. And then this is Mr. Frank Quinn. We actually got his picture along with the guest register, and he has autographed the back of it. So we have Mr. Frank Quinn's autograph. Now, I don't know what the surf room was, the smart surf room. I guess Bill Hoffman would be able to tell us that. Bill and Debbie Hoffman are the current owners of the hotel. And he was often the master of ceremonies for the female impersonators. And you can see he's listed as such at the bottom of the screen there, at the bottom of that picture. All right, so we fooled you on that one too, but I don't blame you. It's really, it's a little hard to fathom that that would be popular entertainment, but it indeed was. All right, next we have a picture of the Gem Theater. You can see that it was dated in 1908. It opened in 1908. You will probably recognize it today as a different venue. It was actually known as the Hog Shop at one point. For those of you who have been around for a while, you remember that there was a motorcycle shop called the Hog Shop, and it was in the place where the Gem is today. It is called Chaplin's. It's a live performance venue. And there were a number, in addition to silent films, and by the way, my grandmother actually played the piano for a number of the silent films that were performed, that were shown at the Gem. But in addition to the silent films, there were also a number of vaudeville acts. Often they would have a vaudeville act or two and a film or two. Admission, usually 5 cents for the whole thing, for the whole evening. There were a number of well-known silent film stars and also other famous persons who appeared there. Here's our statement. Chaplin's is named for the most famous person to have performed at the Gem Theater, Charlie Chaplin. Is that truth or fiction? We were neck and neck, but there's some separation now here. We're up to 82% of the vote. Anybody else want to click in?
Just a couple more seconds.
All right. The answer is, you say that it is false, 67% false. It is false. It is false. A lot of people in the area think that Chaplin's was named for Charlie Chaplin, which it is, because he performed there. Charlie Chaplin never appeared in person. He appeared on film. As you can see, there's an advertisement here on the left. Coming Saturday, Charlie Chaplin in his latest 2-reel comedy. You also have some other stars who appeared there. You have Connor and Morse. You won't recognize these names, folks, because they are from the 1910s, 1920s at the latest. Charles Grant and his performing dog Betsy. See the 5 cents admission there. We also have Mr. Todd, the musical tramp. I'm not sure what that is. He does an entire change each time. Here we have the Prince Masculine and Company. He was an illusionist, but it was more of a comedy thing, an act from the newspaper article that we have about that. Miss Florence Louvier, apparently a big name in those days, but I really couldn't find too much on Florence. Spring City's favorite song and dance artist. That's for Thanksgiving Day, too. Here you have Ethel Grandin, who was an American silent film actress. She appeared there as a vaudeville star. She performed, let's see, I think it was from about 1911 to 1922, if I have my numbers correct. I don't have that in my notes here. So she would have been a popular film star. Again, not a recognizable name to us. There's Ethel. Another was Ramona Langley, another silent film actress. She only appeared in films from 1911 to 1913, but she also appeared in a number of vaudeville productions, and she appeared at the Gem in Spring City. Now, these were not the most famous. The most famous was this gentleman. Oh, lost my cursor there. Whoops, that's Ethel. All right, the most famous person was this guy. Does anybody know who that is? That is Buster Keaton. I see some of you shaking your head. This is how we would probably recognize Buster, with his pork pie hat, in the most familiar picture. Here's a younger picture of Buster, but Buster appeared even more younger at the Gem. This is a picture of Buster on the left as a 6-year-old with his parents. They had an act called the Three Keatons, and they performed from the time Buster was about 5 until he was 21. At that point, the act broke off due to the father's alcoholism, and as a result, Buster and his mother moved to New York City, and he became involved in the silent film industry, and he just took off at that point. Now, how did Buster get his name? One time when he was 3 years old, or 3 or 4 years old, so the story goes, he fell down the stairs, rolled all the way down the stairs. When he got to the bottom, he just got up as though nothing had happened. And they said, boy, there's a real Buster. And that name stuck. It also was a harbinger of his future career, because Buster learned how to make falls without getting hurt. And I'll tell you, if you want some inspiration, go on YouTube and look up Buster Keaton's film stunts. He did almost every one of his stunts in person, and he put himself in life and death situations. You will not believe it. It is not only entertaining, it is completely inspiring. And this act that would have appeared at the Gem involved knockdown, drag out, physical comedy, with the father throwing Buster basically across the stage. They even sewed a suitcase handle into the back of his clothing so that the father could get a better grip on him for tossing him across the stage. And not only that, but people would be so upset about this act that the father was often arrested and had to go to the police station because of child abuse. Well, Buster had to go and plead to the father's defense. No, this is an act. I know how to fall. I know how to roll. And he would have to take off his shirt and show, I don't have any bruises. There are no bruises here. And he actually did know how to do that in a very, very clever way, which is obvious in and also his silent film career as well. So there we go. All right. Now, you know, if you're going to have Dave Willauer do a program, you can't not have a question about the hardware store. And I understand our brother Brad is part of the group, the participants tonight. This is a picture taken from the auction, which was held in November 1st and 2nd of 2019. So that is the last picture that we have of the hardware store. Here's an earlier picture. This one would have been before the 1940s, 1945. Notice that the overhangs are still present in front of the hardware store on the left and in front of the drugstore on the right, which later became Mathewson's drugstore. This is one from about 1956. You can see the overhang is gone, and it kind of looks exactly what it does. Of course, the wares would be lined up out front, and when I worked at the hardware store, that was one of my jobs when we opened up, was to line those things that were being sold up on the curb. Now, at the auction, this is a picture that I took. This is a display of the rope that was available at the hardware store. And if you look at the left, there's a block of wood, a chopping block. And you can see there's a metal bar here. That metal bar had a blade on it and was kind of used like a machete. And this block was used to cut manila rope when it was sold. So it would be measured out, markings on the floor, the old creaky floors in the hardware store, would be measured out. You would hold your thumb where it needed to be cut, and then you would just whack that rope with that machete in order to sell it. Well, this next statement has to do with the rope being sold at the hardware store. It is statement number 10. A man purchasing rope at Latchal's Hardware said he was going to hang himself with the rope, and he did. Is that truth or fiction? Okay, we have 65% of the vote in. Neck and neck. Started out with a very high swing one way. Now we have about 80% of the vote in. Anybody else want to vote? Wow, that's almost a dead heat, isn't it? And we have 51% say that that's true. Let me just write that down. 51% say that it's true. 49% say that it is false. Well, you just eked that one out. It is true. It is true. Now, Brad and I were talking about this, and you know, this story was something that was told at the hardware store when we worked there. And it was always the same details. It was the person's name was given, and I'm not going to share the person's name tonight because I want to keep that confidential. But it was the same scenario that this guy came in, bought the rope. Somebody was making small talk with him. What are you going to do with the rope? I'm going to hang myself, and left the store. And the rest of the story goes, as I remember it, was that the next morning he was swinging from the front porch of the Salem schoolhouse, which you will know as Gallagher's Tavern on 724. Apparently, that is not true, because we did a little bit of research and came up with this death certificate. It is a certificate of death. This incident occurred in 1956, was it? 55 or 56, I think it says there. And it says that he hung himself on the porch at his home. His home was 615 Heckle Avenue. So it was not Salem Schoolhouse. So that part of the story was incorrect, but it is actually true. I have a couple of other slides here. This is a picture that we have in our archives of a class at the Salem Schoolhouse. And this, of course, is what it looks like somewhat today. This is Gallagher's Tavern, but this is of Salem School. All right, so you got me on that one by 1%. 1%. All right, we're ready to move on to number 11. Number 11 has to do with the Spring City Foundry. And here is a picture of the Shanson Keeley Stoveworks in Spring City, PA. Some of you who are old timers will remember the Pattern House. If you can see my cursor, this is the Pattern House right here. That was across Main Street from the Liberty Fire Company, where the Liberty Fire Company is now, where the bakery is now. There was quite a fire that destroyed Shanson Keeley. It was reborn as the Jaeger Hunter Stove, Spring City Stove Works, and then later became Spring City Foundry and also Spring City Electrical Manufacturing Company. Throughout its history, the foundry in Spring City was called the White Elephant, and that's because they would produce things that would go out of style. In other words, Shanson Keeley produced, and Jaeger and Hunter also, I believe, produced stoves that used a white nickel finish. And when porcelain came into being, porcelain was all the rage. And so white nickel went out of fashion. So the Spring City Foundry had to keep reinventing itself. And under the leadership of the Marcus family, it began to produce electrical items, such as lampposts. You see one of their lampposts there in the front, junction boxes, and other things that relate to electric. So this is our question. Oh, by the way, before you put that up, Kelly, the lampposts produced by Spring City can be seen in Philadelphia, New York City, Washington, D.C., and along Main Street in Walt Disney World, as well as the streets of Spring City and Royersford. We also have them at Royersford Elementary School when that was redone in 1992. So here's our statement number 11. A Spring City electrical lamp survived the collapse of the World Trade Center on 9/11. Is that true or fiction? Truth or fiction? We are neck and neck. And now there's some separation. Going back to neck and neck. This is so cool to watch this come in. All right, we have 80% of the vote. Anybody else want to vote? Somebody else has to vote. Oh, 50-50. It's a 50-50. Oh my goodness. How about that? All right, 50-50. We're going to share with you a picture. This is one that I found on the internet. It's not very good quality, but if you look right here, if you can see my cursor, that is a Spring City electrical lamppost. It's a Bishop's Crook lamppost. And I want to thank Alan Brink, who is the CEO of Spring City Electrical, and he sent me these pictures. So take a look. You can see that lamppost off to the left over here. All right. It's more detail. And it did indeed survive the collapse of the World Trade Center. And you've probably seen these pictures before. These are very iconic pictures of 9/11. One more, and this is the best view. You can see the firemen in place. The dust hasn't even settled yet from the collapse. And there is, it's leaning a little bit, right? But it's survived. There is the Bishop's Crook Spring City Electrical Manufacturing lamppost. So that one is definitely true. Definitely true. So 50% of you were right, 50% of you got it incorrect. All right, here is our last question of the evening, number 12, and it has to do with Mingo non-ferrous metals. The Mingo non-ferrous metals originated in Royersford, but moved to Church Street in Spring City. And they were casters of different things in bronze and aluminum. Manufactured a number of different custom items. So this is our question. This is what it looks like today. It is now closed. It says here it began operations in 1955. And here is our question. Mingo Non-Ferrous Metals fabricated 9 fountains for installation in Independence Mall, Philadelphia. Mingo Non-Ferrous Metals fabricated 9 fountains for installation in Independence Mall, Philadelphia. Truth or fiction? Well, we're getting a pretty decided outcome on this one. We have 80% of the vote, a few more seconds to go. Anybody else?
All right.
All right, we're locking it in. 73% say that it is true. And in fact, it is true. And there is a picture from a newspaper of one of the 9 fountains that was produced by Mingo Non-Ferrous Metal. I have another picture here, and this is a fountain that they were producing to be installed on the Parkway in Philadelphia. This fountain, this is just the base of it. There would be smaller bowls that were placed on top of that, 60,000 pounds. And the Fairmount Park Commission wanted that fountain all delivered in one piece for publicity purposes. So they had to use a 100-ton truck to deliver this 60,000 pound fountain. And they had to find a special route to get there because not all bridges could handle that level of weight on them. The article does give some more information about the fountain, its construction, others that were involved with it. They considered taking it in with a helicopter at first, but then that was deemed impractical. It was also to match an existing fountain that was also on the Parkway. So Kelly, what was our score here? Let's see. Let's just do a bit of a recap. With number 1, everybody got that one right. Number 2 got that one right. The 3, I got that one right, I believe. Number 4, you guys got that one right. You got number 6, 5 right. 49% said that was false. I cannot tell from my notes. I should have kept better notes. But I think you guys came out ahead. I really do. You probably had at least 8 of them correct. Was anybody keeping score? If you can, give that to Kelly in the comments. But as a group, you did very well. So you're to be commended. I hope you enjoyed these. I want to give special thanks, first of all, to Kelly as our host tonight and the public library. Also want to thank Bill Bruner, who's the president emeritus of the Historical Society. A lot of the images, Bill helped me out with a lot of the details and a lot of the stories as well. And I'm grateful for that. Bill is an encyclopedia of Spring City and Royersford history and can always count on him. If you don't already follow our Facebook page, certainly would encourage you to do that because he posts on a regular basis. And those posts get thousands of hits. They really do. Also want to thank Alan Brink of Spring City Electrical Manufacturing for those 2 pictures. And also Brad Willauer, my brother, who helped me out with the hardware store story also. Also want to invite you to become a member of the Historical Society. If you know how to use a QR code, you can scan that with your cell phone. You can also donate using the QR code, or you can also go to our website, which is www.sfahs.com. So we want to thank you for your support. Hope you enjoyed the program tonight. And don't know if anybody has any comments or questions, but I'll be glad to field those.
I haven't seen any questions come into the chat so far. Sharon did say that it was pretty funny. She only knew the answer to the first question, which was, remind me. I know it was the
first question was about the Buckwalter Stove Company.
She only knew the answer to that one because she had just learned it last week in a social studies class that she was sitting in for work.
Well, and there again, if you followed our Facebook page, Bill had put a posting on about those stoves being shipped to Japan. So, yeah.
Oh, Sharon, I'm sorry. It was actually the trial question. The Hedy Lamarr question was the one.
Oh, the trial question.
Still
Okay.
funny anyway.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right. I did see a hand go up. Oh, wait, where did it go?
It looks like Sharon shared also that Dollar General is over at the where Jerry's Market and
Hmm.
Donzi's is located today.
I think it was Tom that had a question. Tom, go ahead and unmute then if you have anything you would like to say. Is it
You
working?
lose Tom.
No, I see him.
I just wanted to say my mother worked at Philco
Oh, did she?
years ago. Oh my goodness, yeah. When we lived in Norristown when I was little, she used to travel from Norristown to Spring City for night shift. And she spent, I don't know, well over 50 years with the company, even when it moved to Lansdale after Spring City. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Well, Philco was known for radios, of course.
Yeah,
for,
yeah. Later on, they were doing
radios.
multiplex FM rate stereos with 8 tracks for Lincoln Continentals, all that kind of stuff. Seat belts, like the whole 9 yards.
That's great. They also made appliances later when they were bought out by, I guess it was Philco Ford.
Yeah,
Wait.
yeah.
Yeah, 1966, maybe something around that time. Well, thanks for sharing that, Tom. Tom is
you're
also
welcome.
one of our board members at the Historical Society.
Great features tonight. It was great. I loved it.
Well, we wanted to have some fun on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
I got hit. I babysat my grandsons today, and I got hit with a cookie. The cream filling was toothpaste. Thank you, kids. You know.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Tom.
I do see Ralph has a question. Let me
Sure.
offer you to unmute, Ralph. Go right ahead. Is it letting you unmute? Let's see.
Can we unmute?
Hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you, Ralph.
Who owned the Spring City Hotel during their glory days of the shows that you talked about?
I think that would have been Dominic Delaquila, I guess.
Delaquila. Okay, I knew the Delaquilas owned it sometime then, but okay.
I think so. The name that is in the ledger, now this goes back well before the female impersonators, is Walter Corrigan, Walter J. Corrigan, proprietor.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been in the teens.
That's probably the same Corrigan and had the development out in out by the Wawa there in Spring City. Corrigan's developments.
It could be the same family,
Yeah,
a local family.
And not during the time that you had there to register, but a lot of the Jones Motor Company drivers who came from out of town and had to stay overnight. You know, they had like a half dozen rooms that Jones, I think, rented there regularly to put during the 50s and 60s.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My great grandmother, after my great grandfather died, actually moved into the hotel. Of course, that was before nursing homes, except for what they called the poorhouse,
Right. Yeah.
And she lived at the Spring City Hotel. We would go there to visit her, and Dominic allowed her to have a hot plate in her room. She would get up, and even in the middle of the night, she would make scrapple, she told us.
Wow. All right. Thank you. It was a very interesting program.
Thanks, Ralph. I see that Bill Bruner is with us tonight too. Bill, did you have anything that you wanted to add at all tonight?
Well, I just want to say it was a great program, and it far surpassed. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I didn't know if it surpassed my expectations, and you only really caught me. I didn't want to answer any, but I went ahead and answered the one on the governor. I was wrong, and I was also wrong on the. You were very convincing when you showed that book from the hotel. And I thought, wow, boy, we got a book. And you did get a book, but the story that you told wasn't true.
Well, I can't believe I put one over on you. That made my day right there.
Well, you did. And I really appreciated seeing some of my artwork on display, because I know I did some of those things. Just recently, I think I did cleaned up the newspaper clippings on the boy that drowned over there at Lakeview. But if everybody watched and followed Facebook for the last couple of years, not just recently, most of those questions would have been answered on Facebook.
I think
Because
you're right.
they were mostly covered.
Yeah.
You know, some of them more than once.
Very true.
But it was a good program. I really appreciate it, Dave.
Well, and thanks for all your contributions. Wouldn't be
Okay.
possible without it. For sure. That's for certain. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything.
Oh, one thing, Dave,
Yeah.
I just got to tell you this.
Sure.
When you were doing those fellas, the impersonators from the hotel, one of our members, I won't mention her name, when she was a young girl, she worked across the street. Her dad had the little gas pumps there. And she used to go over and stand on the bench and peek in the window. And they didn't have any air conditioning in early 1950 in the hotel. They got it later, but in 1950, these men were putting makeup on, and some of them had pretty good growth of beard, and they were trying to cover up the black speckles. And she said the makeup would run in the hot summer nights. It was just something to see.
Oh my.
So I can imagine how much makeup they needed to cover everything up.
I'll say.
That's all. Great program, Dave.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for your help. All right, folks.
I'm seeing lots of thank yous. Great, learned lots of trivia, very fun. You're getting lots of applause on my end. I see
Wow.
more clapping. Yes.
It was a fun program to put together, and I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. With that, if there's any last comments, go ahead and type them in real quick. Use that raise hand button. This is going to be last call then. Nope. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for coming out. And hopefully I can talk Dave into doing something similar again.
It was fun. Thanks again, Kelly.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.